Blood Tide, a surreal, high-paced surf vampire saga. Fade in. The Pacific Ocean churns under a bruised purple sunset. Waves break like silent explosions, silver lit under a full moon. Maliki, a shirtless, tatted-up surfer with skin like sun-kissed marble, paddles out on a longboard that looks like it was carved from obsidian. His eyes, black as deep water, scan the horizon. Behind him, the rest of the Nocturnal Tide, his vampire surf cult, waits, gliding through the water without paddling. Tonight, the city is theirs. Act 1, The Call of the Blood. Venice Beach by day is all neon and sweat, skateboarders and street musicians. But by night, it becomes something older. The Nocturnal Tide have ruled these waves for centuries, hidden behind the mask of youth and the illusion of surf bum hedonism. Their leader, Lilith, a bronze-skinned goddess with glowing red eyes, is as old as the sea itself, sopping like she speaks in riddles, her voice layered like 1,000 whispers. A new surfer has arrived, Ezra, a washed-up pro, drawn by whispers of perfect, unriddable waves. He watches the tide, how they move in impossible ways, how they ride waves that seem to rise just for them. Maliki watches him back, grinning, fanged. Tonight, they will decide if Ezra joins them or if he drowns. Act 2, The Ritual and the Rush. Ezra follows Maliki and the tide to an abandoned pier. Bonfires burn green, shadows dance, the scent of salt, blood, and burning sage fill the air. A wild surf ritual begins. Boards carved from the bones of ancient leviathans slap the waves. The tide dances, moving faster than the eye can follow. Then the test. Ezra is given the drop of the red ocean, a goblet filled with something thick and shining like molten rubies. Drink, and he rides eternal. Refuse, and he never leaves the beach alive. He drinks. The world tilts. The ocean speaks. The waves crash backward, curling against time. Ezra sees endless lifetimes of surfers lost to the tide, their souls still riding, trapped in the curling abyss of the blood tide. His body shreds itself, reforms, reborn as something more than human. His eyes turn black, his heart stops, his hunger ignites. Act 3, The City Belongs to Them. When the Nocturnal Tide rides into the city, it is no longer Los Angeles. It is Atlantis reborn, a neon nightmare of ancient gods and modern vice. Blood drips from streetlights like dew. The skyscrapers pulse, breathing, alive with the ghosts of those who drowned in their past lives. The tide moves like water through the streets, feeding. No cops, no resistance. The city belongs to them until dawn. They grind the rails of the Venice skate park with bare feet, fangs flashing. They drag tourists into the waves, their screams muffled by the ocean's hungry roar. Ezra, high on the rush, rides his board straight up a glass building, defying gravity, carving ancient sigils into the skyline. Maliki laughs, his voice echoing across dimensions. But then, the hunter arrives. Act 4, The Last Wave. A man with salt-crusted armor, his skin covered in sigils carved by monks centuries ago. He is Caleb the Wavebreaker, last of the tide's ancient enemies. His surfboard is a shark jawbone, his body a living relic of the old war between sun and moon. He has come to end the Nocturnal Tide, for good. The final surf battle is unlike anything seen before. Caleb and Maliki launch themselves off waves that stretch into other realities. Ezra, caught between hunger and humanity, must choose. Does he fight for the tide, or does he carve his own legend? As dawn approaches, the ocean swells one last time, rising to swallow the city whole, and the blood tide comes in. Fade to black, sounds of waves, a distant scream. Then, silence. The ocean always takes back its own, that surreal, insane, high energy enough for you? The war for the eternal wave. Fade in. The sun rises, and for the first time in centuries, the Nocturnal Tide feels it. Maliki kneels on the sand, steam rising from his skin. His tattoos burn white hot. The curse has been broken. Ezra stands above him, the wind howling through the empty streets of Venice Beach. Blood drips from his lips. His fingers still twitch from the power of the kill. The taste of Caleb the Wavebreaker still lingers in his mouth, a forbidden thing. ancient and holy. Behind him, the nocturnal tide stirs. They should be ashes by now, but the city remains in twilight. Something is wrong. Lilith steps forward, eyes narrowed. Lilith, you drank the blood of the hunter. Ezra grips his board, breath heavy. Something is changing inside him. Act 1, the cursed rebirth. Ezra is no longer fully tied, no longer fully human. The blood of the wavebreaker surges through him like an infection, rewriting his DNA, warping his hunger. His veins glow gold beneath his skin. He is becoming something new. The others stare, uncertain. Malachi grins, teeth still dripping. Well, looks like we got ourselves a freak. Ezra's head pounds. Visions flicker. Flashes of a city underwater, buried beneath endless tides, a place where forgotten gods sleep. The blood tide is rising again, but not just in Los Angeles. Every city will drown. Lilith steps forward, her bare feet leaving cracked glass where she walks. You've started something that cannot be undone. Ezra shakes his head. No, I ended it. But the ocean roars behind him, laughing. The rising wave. Across the city, things start to break. Streetlights flicker, not with electricity, but with bioluminescent deep-sea horror. The billboards twist, flashing images of ancient sea gods, their eyes moving, watching. Surfers drown in knee-deep water, screaming, pulled into waves that shouldn't exist. The nocturnal tide watch as Los Angeles begins to sink. And in the distance, across the water, a new force arrives. The Leviathan Riders. They have seen what Ezra has done, and they are coming. 3. The Storm War. From the horizon, ships of bone and coral rise from the sea, moving against the wind. Their sails are made of human skin. Their captains are dead things that still remember the taste of sunlight. The Leviathan Riders have ruled the drowned cities of the past. They will rule this one too. They have only one message for the nocturnal tide: kneel or be devoured. Before the message finishes, Malachi laughs and throws himself at them, launching off a 30-foot wave like a missile, fangs bared, screaming. The war begins. Ezra stands frozen. The power inside him hums like an untamed storm. He is neither tide nor hunter. He is something worse. And then the first Leviathan breaks the surface, a thing older than gods, a skyscraper of flesh and teeth. It howls, a sound that breaks windows across the city. Los Angeles is lost. Ezra takes his board. One last ride, one last wave, and he drops in. Fade to black, the sound of water, screams swallowed, the ocean rises, then silence. Tagline, every city will drown, some will learn to ride. The last ride before the world ends. Fade in. The city of Los Angeles is half submerged. The streets are rivers, the skyscrapers broken reefs, their neon signs flickering beneath the rising tide. Bodies float between drowned still open, staring, caught mid-scream. Above it all, the Leviathans prowl, their massive forms slithering between the drowned ruins, their eyes glowing like submerged stars. And in the center of it all, Ezra rides. He drops in from the side of a fallen high-rise, his surfboard a black mirror, the water pulling upward instead of down, gravity shifting, breaking, warping. Reality bends beneath his feet. The nocturnal tide fights below, Malachi locked in battle with a Leviathan rider, their surfboards slamming against each other like swords, the waves beneath them alive, screaming, reaching up with black foam hands. Lilith stands atop a half-sunken Ferris wheel, whispering in a language older than breath. The water listens. But Ezra is already gone. He is moving too fast, faster than thought, faster than time, and the ocean is calling his name. Act 1. The edge of the world. Ezra's body burns with the power inside him. The blood of the wavebreaker and the curse of the tide are at war inside his veins. His fingers twitch. His teeth ache. The hunger is different now, not for blood, not for souls, for something bigger. The Leviathans roar beneath him, sensing it too. And then, the sky splits open. A wave unlike anything seen before begins to rise on the horizon. Not water, not light. Something else. It is the blood tide itself, the first tide. The thing that drowned Atlantis, the thing that ended the first era. It has been waiting for this moment, and now it comes for everything. Lilith sees it and goes silent. Her glowing eyes widen. Even Malachi stops fighting, his grip tightening on his board. The Nocturnal Tide, the Leviathan Riders, they are nothing compared to what is coming. Ezra knows he is the cause, and he doesn't know if he wants to stop it. Act 2, choosing the wave. Ezra turns back to Malachi, who is staring up at the blood tide, a slow grin stretching across his face. Insane. Oh, we're so fucked. Lilith snaps her fingers, and the ocean freezes mid-motion, the entire city trapped in a single moment. The waves stop, the rain halts in the air, the Leviathans pause mid-snarl. Only Ezra can still move. Soft, layered infinite, you are the key now. Ezra grips his board tighter. His body aches to ride that wave, to let it take him, take the city, take the world. But something inside him fights back. Memories of Venice Beach, of his first wave, of the sun on his skin, of the time before the tide. Does he let the blood tide take everything, or does he carve one last path through it? Act 3, the last drop in. Ezra takes a breath, steps onto the edge of the frozen wave. Lilith watches, unreadable. Malachi laughs, uncaring. Ezra crouches, and then he drops in, and the world shatters. Act 4, the final ride. There is nothing but ocean now. Endless, infinite. Ezra surfs through time itself, past drowned civilizations, past forgotten cities swallowed by the tides. The ghosts of ancient surfers ride beside him, their boards carved from whale bones and shipwrecks. The blood tide tries to pull him under, to make him part of it. But Ezra cuts through it, a single perfect line. A new wave rises beneath him, his wave. Not the blood tide, not the ancient curse, something new. He rides. Faster than sound, faster than death, and then the world comes back. Fade. Final part, final ride of the Nocturnal Tide. Fade in, Venice Beach, pre-dawn. The city stands. But something is wrong. The ocean is too still, the air too thick, humming with the echoes of something that never should have existed. Ezra stands alone on the shore, board under his arm. His heart beats. A new heart, an old hunger, a different thing altogether. Behind him, the streets of Los Angeles are empty, as if the city is holding its breath. No tourists, no cops, no Nocturnal Tide. They are gone. No Lilith, no Malachi, no more ancient surf vampires prowling the waves. Just Ezra, and the sound of a wave that hasn't hit yet. The blood tide isn't gone. It's just wake one, the last summoning. Ezra paddles out. Each stroke ripples through time. The water bends, swirls, recognizes him. He paddles past ghosts of past surfers, shadows of legends who drowned centuries ago. They ride beside him, watching. And then deep below, something awakens. The blood tide, what was left of it, rises, not as a wave, not as a storm, but as a mouth. The entire horizon splits open, revealing a Leviathan the size of the ocean itself. The first drowned one. The thing that swallowed Atlantis. The thing that drowned entire civilizations. The thing the Nocturnal Tide was always running from. Feeding, always feeding, to keep it from waking. Ezra sees it all now. He was never supposed to escape. He was supposed to become the new sacrifice. To feed the tide. Act 2, the final choice. The sky rips apart. The ocean tilts. Ezra is caught in the drop, his board carving through a void of salt and shadow. The city behind him leans forward, about to fall into the abyss. And then a single voice whispers in the wind, Ezra. He turns. Lilith stands on a wave that shouldn't exist, her eyes burning like eclipses, her body half real, flickering between past and present. She is not dead. She never was. The Nocturnal Tide are still out there, somewhere, waiting, watching. And Ezra, he is the only one left who can decide. Does he feed the first drowned one, or does he do something no surfer, no vampire, no god has ever done? Act 3, the wave that never ends. Ezra grips his board. He drops in, straight into the Leviathan's mouth, but he doesn't fall. He rides. The inside of the creature is an entire ocean. Endless, stretching beyond time itself. Every drowned city is here, every lost surfer, every forgotten god. The Nocturnal Tide rides beside him. Malachi, laughing like a man, carving through the abyss like he's finally free. Lilith, silent, powerful, a queen of something even older than this. All of them riding one last time. And Ezra, he goes faster than anything has ever gone before. Faster than time, faster than the ocean, faster than death. The Leviathan screams. The wave folds in on itself, the city collapses back into reality, and Ezra vanishes. Silence. Then, fade in, Venice Beach. Sunrise. The ocean is calm, the sky is clear, Venice Beach is normal. Vast ride, no drowned streets, no ghosts, no forgotten gods, just surfers, just waves, just life. A few locals talk about a weird storm last night. Some swear they saw something out in the water, something huge. But the waves are perfect today, and out on the horizon, a lone figure paddles, someone no one recognizes. A surfer with black eyes and golden veins. He smiles and he rides. Tagline: some surfers are lost to the ocean, some become part of it.